She said it was just a party. I watched her destroy our marriage.
It started with a party, a fight over something that should have been simple. She wanted to go. I didn't want her to. I know how that sounds controlling, petty. But our marriage was already fragile, held together by routine instead of trust. I knew things I couldn't pretend I didn't know. She insisted it was just a work event, important for networking. But I'd already heard her on the phone with a friend, laughing, talking about someone from her past who would be there. An old flame. When I asked her about it, she didn't deny it. She just said I was overreacting. I told her I wasn't comfortable with it. I told her I needed her to stay. She looked at me like I'd insulted her very being. "You don't own me," she said. "I'm going—" The door slammed, and in the silence that followed, I felt something inside me crack. Hours ticked by. The initial curiosity festered into a deep, cold dread. I drove to the address she'd mentioned, telling myself I just needed peace of mind. The moment I walked in, the bass from the music hit me like a punch to the chest, and then I saw her. She wasn't just talking to him. She was wrapped around him, her laughter swallowed by the noise, her body moving with his like they were the only two people in the world. The way her hands rested on his shoulders told me everything. This wasn't a mistake waiting to happen. It was already happening. I don't remember shouting or making a scene. I just remember the feeling of leaving, walking back out into the cool night with my heart pounding so hard it physically hurt. Right there on that sidewalk, I decided I was done begging for respect. That night I packed a bag. I didn't answer her calls or read her messages. I needed space because staying in that apartment meant saying things neither of us could ever take back. The next morning I went back. Not to forgive, but because I needed answers. She was already up, sitting on the edge of the couch, her eyes red and swollen. The confidence she'd worn like armor the night before was gone. She looked small. "We need to talk," she said, her voice barely a whisper. She didn't waste any time. First, she told me she was pregnant. Then she told me she wasn't sure who the father was. The room started spinning. I had to sit down before I fell. She confessed it all a single encounter months ago on a business trip. It meant nothing, she claimed. She was lonely, feeling unseen, disconnected from me. The words sounded rehearsed, like something she'd practiced, but her tears felt real. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just felt hollow, like someone had scooped everything out of me. I left again, wandering the city without a destination. I ended up in a dusty old bar I hadn't been to in years and started talking to a stranger. He didn't offer advice or judgment. He just listened. And then he said something that cut through the noise in my head. "Love isn't just a feeling," he said, looking at his drink. "It's a decision you have to make, especially when things get ugly." I didn't know if I was strong enough to make that decision. Later that day, her sister called. My wife was in the hospital. Complications. A spike of fear shot through me, overriding the anger. I went, seeing her lying in that hospital bed, pale and scared, holding my hand like it was a lifeline. It changed something. The doctor said the pregnancy was stable, but fragile. Stress could make things worse. For the first time since this all started, I didn't see the woman who betrayed me. I saw a person who was terrified of losing everything. She apologized again, but this time it was quiet, exhausted, and honest. "I don't expect forgiveness," she whispered. "I just don't want to lose you without trying." I agreed to go home. Not because we were okay, but because walking away in that moment felt more wrong than staying. The weeks that followed were brutal. We started therapy. We had long, draining conversations that left us both raw. I asked questions I never imagined I'd have to ask, and heard answers I wasn't sure I wanted. Some days were filled with a sliver of hope. Most days, I just felt like a fool. As her pregnancy progressed, the reality of it started to force its way into our broken life. There were doctor appointments, late-night cravings for weird food, a shared fear mixed with a strange kind of anticipation. We decided to wait for a paternity test until after the birth. Not knowing was painful, but finding out too soon felt like it would be the final blow. One night, I found her sitting alone in the nursery we had barely started putting together. She told me she felt the baby move for the first time. I hesitated, then placed my hand on her stomach. And then I felt it, a tiny, definitive flutter. In that instant, something shifted inside me. The anger, the betrayal, it all just quieted for a moment. I didn't care about DNA. I cared about the new life growing in there. I cared about the responsibility I had and about the chance to be better than the man who was drowning in rage. Trust didn't magically reappear. It had to be rebuilt, one painful piece at a time. We learned how to talk to each other again without attacking, how to listen without getting defensive. Some days it felt impossible, others felt like progress. When our daughter was born, everything else just faded away. The moment I heard her cry, small and fierce, I felt a certainty so powerful it scared me. The paternity test eventually came back. It confirmed she was mine. But by then, it almost didn't matter. I was already hers. Our marriage isn't perfect now. It never will be. But it's honest. It's built on conscious choices, not comfortable assumptions. On hard effort, not lingering fear. That night she went to the party didn't destroy us. It forced us to face the ugly truth of who we had become. And sometimes the truth hurts enough to either break you completely or change you for good. We chose change. Thanks for listening. If our story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more real-life stories.